Welcome to Sparking Everyday Discipleship, where we disciple parents to disciple their children with everyday discipleship every day, sparking important conversations with our children. I'm your host, Terrie Hellard Brown, and we're so glad you've chosen to spend some time with us today. Today, our guest is our old friend, Laura Sassi. She's back to share about her newest book. She's been a teacher, a homeschool mom, children's ministry director, and even more. She is the author of multiple books for young children, including the best-selling Goodnight Ark, which was a 2015 Christian Book Award finalist, Goodnight Manger, Love is Kind, Little You, Honey Finds Easter, Happy Birthday Christmas Child, My Tender Heart Devotions, and which is a Christianity Today Book Award finalist and is part of the Tender Heart series that includes the Bible and a prayer book. And her newest is Faithful Feet. She also has some other books that are just delightful, fun stories that you'll want to check out. She's been published for about 11 years now, and so she has a lot to share with us. She writes daily from her home in New Jersey and finds special joy in sharing messages of kindness, comfort, and hope at school visits, church gatherings, and other events. You can reach out to her if you'd like for her to come and speak at your school or share with your church at Laura Sassi Tales. And that's Laura, and then Sassy is Sassi, Tales, TALES.com. And you can find that website. She's also on all the social media with similar tags of Laura Sassi Tales. But she's just wonderful. We love her. She's been here before, and we look forward to talking with her today. So let's join the conversation. Thank you for joining us today. We are here with our good friend, Laura Sassi, and she is going to share with us about her brand new book, Faithful Feet. Thank you for being here today, Laura.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Terrie.
Well, I always enjoy talking to you because I love your books, but this one I have been anticipating. I love Hebrews, and I love the chapter where it just lists out all the faithful people and recounts basically the whole Bible story. I was so excited to see this book come out. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, a couple of things. Like you, I have different Bible passages that have stuck with me over the years. And one of them is from Isaiah 52, verse 7, where it says, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news." I've always loved that. We sing it in worship songs, and I've always loved that. So I kind of had that in my mind. Then I've also my whole life kind of thought feet are fun. You know, they're just kind of fun. So when my kids were little, I enjoyed tickling their feet. And when they got bigger, their feet got a little stinky. And one day, a few years ago, you can probably relate to this. As a writer, I free write almost every day just to kind of warm up. And I wrote a little poem about feet are funny, don't you think? That's how it began. And I didn't go anywhere with it. It just sat in my writing journal. And then one day I opened it up and I remembered that Bible verse. And I was like, I could introduce the Bible to kids combining that verse through the lens of feet. That's how this book came to be. If you read the book, you'll notice that the very first page, the very first couple lines are "feet are funny, don't you think?" It opens with a variation of that poem.
I love that. That's so fun. So as children read this book and as families read it together, what do you hope they take away from reading this book?
That the Bible is accessible, that the Bible is relatable, that it's full of stories of ordinary people just like them who God tapped, go on special missions on their feet or however. So just to walk them through the Bible, get them excited about using their feet to spread the message of the good news of Jesus Christ.
That's so good. And that's one of the things I hope too, that people realize God uses broken vessels. He uses stinky feet.
Exactly.
That he can use any of us. He's just looking for a willingness on our part to obey. And I think that just is such a great message to teach little children and to teach their parents as well. How can they use this book to help disciple their children?
Well, there are lots of ways to use it. So the book is deceptively simple. So it's in 32 pages. You walk through the Bible and meet different boys, girls, men, women that God used in the Bible to spread his word and stand strong for him. With each spread, you can stop and then go and dig into the Bible. So one way you could do it is by reading the story. And then the spreads are full of the illustrator did, like, for example, in the New Testament where it's Jesus's miracles, There's so many in the illustrations, different stories that then you could go and look at so that you could go really deep with it. And there's actually an activity kit that the publisher and I put together that lists some of those verses. So it kind of helps you with that. And they're printable. So they're cards that have a little image from the story. So you could play a little game of go and find that image in the story. I think that this would also be a wonderful book to read leading up to Easter because it culminates with Easter Sunday and Christ's resurrection. So a wonderful way to introduce Easter to them. And also because you've got those feet, it could be paired with some sort of mission project. After reading the book, you could see who does your church, what missionaries does your church support, and start praying for some of them, or even do your own participate in some way in a mission or in some kind of faith-based service project.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful. I will never forget, and it's just kind of ironic. My son and my husband went on a mission trip a few years ago to Ecuador, and they went with a group called Happy Feet. And their main project, besides sharing the gospel, was doctoring the feet of these children who had no shoes. And they would give them socks and shoes and wash their feet and put medicine on their feet and then give them those socks and shoes and then share the gospel with these kids up in the mountains of Ecuador. And it was such an amazing trip. But what was so awesome was seeing my son share his faith. And it was really the first time that I wasn't there, but my husband told me about it. But it was the first time we had been witness to him sharing his testimony and ministering like that. And they do things in the US as well. So that's an actual missions group that our churches could partner with to minister to people's feet and
Oh,
to
wow.
share the gospel. It's just kind of cool.
I'm going to look
But
that one up. I
a
also
great
know
tool.
that on the foot theme, so our church supports a mission in New York City that serves soup. It's a
Oh,
bus. It's called the Relief Bus, and they go in. And one of the things they always say that they need, and they ask for donations, and my Sunday school kids have done this, they need socks
mm-hmm.
because the feet of homeless people, that's one of the big problems. They need clean, dry socks. So that's another tangible way if you wanted to connect feet to the book.
That's true.
Donate.
We used to raise sock donations and just give a whole ton of socks to homeless groups. That's a good point. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. And babies, you could donate little booties to hospitals. Of course, it doesn't have to be feet. We're just,
I
since we're
know,
talking about feet,
but it's just kind of a fun theme.
yes, feet are fun.
And along the lines of babies, in our area where we used to live in Sacramento, they had a crisis nursery where when children are in a crisis, they're often taken to this nursery while they're dealing with whatever's going on. And they always need socks and diapers and all kinds of things. And that's another way children could definitely be involved in that kind of ministry. And that would be really cool. Okay, so we could get off the theme of feet, I guess, but it is just so much fun.
And I also think it just shows how the book lends itself to conversations. Kids, trust me,
Yes.
kids love talking about feet.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what we want. We want to open up those conversations.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about your other books a little bit. And this is your 11th published book.
Hmm?
That's so exciting. So looking back over the last years of writing, do you see God leading in a certain way? What has God put on your heart for reaching children? Why do you write children's books? Tell us about your heart.
So my first book was Goodnight Ark. It came out almost 11 years ago. At that time, I was writing mostly mainstream books, and then that one met at the intersection of faith and mainstream. But it really had just the lightest of faith touches. God isn't even mentioned in it. It's really just that it's an imagining of the story on Noah's Ark. But I would say that over the years, God has prompted me to dig deeper into my faith and to be bolder about sharing my faith with others. And for me, that's through story. So you can sort of see a progression if you look at my books. Now I'm still writing. My next book that comes out in July is definitely meets at that intersection of faith and mainstream. It's a fun story. They're all fun stories. But if you look over the progression, you can see like the devotions and the prayer book and the Bible retelling. That's really just providing an opportunity for young families to dig deeper through books that really are pointing them to Jesus. So I would say just boldness in sharing.
Yeah, I feel the same thing in what God is leading me to do, even on this podcast. When I first started, I just wanted to share about books and tools that parents could use to disciple their children. And since then, God has really been challenging me to face my fears and to be
Mhm.
a little bolder. And I went to NRB, the National Religious Broadcasters Conference, a week ago. And I saw these amazing men and women who have no fear. They are out there trying to reach the world and share God's word with the world without fear. And one guy that I heard his testimony, he gets beat up regularly because he's out there as an activist. And he was in Australia. They arrested him. The people attacked him, but he was the one arrested. And I thought, wow. And it just really challenged me because I realized how, as much as I love all that I'm doing, am I really as bold as I should be? We've got to be bold because our culture is different than what we're teaching. I was sharing with another podcast interviewee the other day, we were talking about how this generation of parents that are just coming up and having their little ones, they want to disciple their kids. They want to see their children really follow Christ with their whole hearts. And they're very deliberate, like intentional. They want to make sure that their kids are understanding. And so now we're seeing these great books come up that can really help the parents as they are trying to disciple their kids. So I think that's wonderful. And I love seeing that in this generation, that they really want to intentionally disciple their children.
That's right. And it's such a window. It's such a window of opportunity because even parents that maybe don't want or haven't thought about doing that intentionally, when you have little ones, that's a chance when maybe you haven't been to church, but you might explore it or you might look into it. So it's a really good witness opportunity also just to reach out to these young families. I just feel so blessed and convicted that I want to like be writing these books that are really like the invitation wherever God meets you, wherever you are, but just to be able to provide these books for families with little ones. And maybe their child goes to a Christian nursery school because it's convenient, not because that's their faith, not because they're yet at that faith place, but then their children, when they're there, are reading these faith-based books and then mentioning them when they come home as children do. It's just this wonderful witness, you're right, to this generation and the
Yeah.
next generation.
Yeah.
Very exciting time to be alive.
It is. And scary too.
Yes, just like everyone in Faithful Feet felt, right?
It's true. It's true. Well, and I think of this one and the books you wrote right before this, that as grandparents as well, or aunts, I have some people who follow this podcast who they're the only Christian in their family. And one is an auntie. And so she gets my books to read to her nephew because she wants him to know about Christ. And my husband was the first one to come to Christ in his family. And it was because of, in his immediate family. And it was because of his grandmother, part of it. She planted seeds by just reading stories to him when he was a child. And he remembered those when he went to a Billy Graham crusade as a teenager and found Christ. And so we as aunties and grandparents also can read these books to our children that are in our lives and see what God is going to do. It's planting seeds that he can make grow. And your books are perfect for that. I love all your books because they are so fun and entertaining, even the ones that aren't necessarily spiritual. Yeah. But I really appreciate what God has led you to write in the more recent years with Faithful Feet. And what is the series you wrote?
The My Tender Heart
That's
series.
it. Yes,
Yes.
My
Yeah.
Tender Heart Bible, devotionals, and prayer book, right?
Right.
Yes.
And
And
I know several grandparents, since you were talking about like the grandparents, that have their own library. So their children, when their grandchildren come to their house, they have like grandma's library and it's filled with these faith-filled books. And I just think that's a wonderful idea to have a special place, special books when you come over to Grammy's house, Auntie's house.
so we do want to give them as gifts, but then when they come to our house, we want them to have that
Exactly.
access. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I hope that God continues to lead you to write these awesome stories and that we can see God use them to help disciple this next generation and the generation to come to know Jesus and how wonderful he is. And this book I want to mention again is Faithful Feet. And let's mention the illustrator because the illustrations are adorable. What is it Emanuela?
Yeah, Emanuela Di Donna. She's Italian.
I wondered.
She's Italian, so I think she lives in Naples. I know she's done other illustrations that are faith-based, and she just does a wonderful job. I think she did a beautiful job depicting Jesus and Mary and Noah and Daniel and the women who come to the tomb on Easter Sunday. So there's a little spoiler alert of some of the people you're going to find in the book.
That's great. Well, I think it's great. I love it. Anything else you would like to share with us today?
Well, I just love your ministry here, and it really is a ministry. So thank you for including me in it. Thank you for all the time you spend doing these interviews. And I just pray a blessing on you and all your listeners. And just thank you so much for having me here today.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. And I really love when God first called me to this, I thought, oh, I'll do it for a little while. And I love it. I really love doing it. So thank you. I appreciate what you said. I hope it does bless people. So, well, thank you again for being with us. And we will talk again soon when your next book comes out. We always want to talk with you. So have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you for spending time with us today. If we sparked any questions or you want to share a comment, we would really love to hear from you. You can put a comment on the video on YouTube, or you can put a comment in the comment section on my website, which is terriehellardbrown.com. And we have the show notes there with the links. So be sure to check that out. I also want to let you know about our discipleship coaching groups. If you're a mom or dad who is really determined and wants so much to disciple your children, but you feel kind of at a loss, or you have some questions or concerns that are specifically giving you trouble in discipling your children, please check into joining one of our groups. We have a once a month group that meets for an hour. You can join at that level, or you can join at the level where we meet twice a month for 90 minutes each of those times. And we also have private coaching. You can find the link in the show notes that will link you to the information page and to be able to sign up for these special groups. You can also find teaching on my YouTube channel, and those are available for you to help encourage you as you seek to disciple your children. But in all of this, most of all, we pray you feel empowered, equipped, and encouraged to walk by faith and to embrace everyday discipleship every day with the children in your life.